So if you're constructing survey questionnaires, and there are people that literally spend their whole lives on this, so that really are experts on question construction, open-ended questions are much more easy to develop. They allow for your how, what, where, why. They're going to take more time. They're going to be more personalized, but they're much harder to analyze. You're going to have to look for recurring themes. There are certain software programs that can help you do that, but really in most likelihood you're going to need another expert to sort of cross-validate the responses and say, these are the themes from the open-ended questions. Closed-ended questions, these are the type of Likert scale that where everybody's used to doing. So specific responses, yes, no, ranking 1 to 5, 1 to 10, 1 to 100, always, never, strongly disagree to strongly agree. So you're probably familiar with those. So, easy, but that's the only data you have. So you don't have that open-ended questions. You have to design questionnaires clearly. You want to avoid shorter is always better. Shorter questions. Remember, you may be dealing with people of different reading levels, different education levels, people with English as a second language. Only one idea per question. Avoid questions that are negatively worded. So instead of saying, I feel happy, that would be positively worded. You would say, what you would score on a 1 through 5. You wouldn't say, I don't feel happy today, or something, So then that would be reverse scored. So you can do that, and sometimes it's a good check, but it's much more challenging to score things that are negatively scored that are a not. Avoiding technical language and jargon, as clear as possible. Once again, low reading levels, people English as a second language. You want to avoid questions that don't lead people to select an answer, so it's not going to lead them to bias. And I know we had talked about that with some of the surveys, and the length of surveys, shorter is always better. You don't want to ask 100 questions if you can accomplish what you need to do in 20 or 25 questions. So getting people to do lengthy surveys is always going to be challenging. Validity. Let's review that. Does the test measure what it's supposed to measure? And that's a big question with any type of survey research. We don't always have a logical or phase validity where we can watch somebody perform something, or we have some sort of gold standard measured. So if I'm going to look at behavior or nutrition, I'm not being able to watch you eat the food. I have to rely on you to give your responses. Or I'm not being able to look at your supermarket receipts or what's in your cupboard or your refrigerator. So content validity, does it adequately sample? And if you remember from Beth Ann's thesis, she had that long appendix about how the questions in her survey were justified by the content and why they were in the survey. So they were reviewed by a panel of experts, so myself, Dr. Bowers, the physician we work with, the nurse, and the physical therapist, that these were content, there was content validity of her questions. Concurrent validity, this is another thing. If you want to develop your own type of instrument or assessment, compare it to something that is similar. That's not always easy to do because there may not be exactly what you want, but you're lucky if you can do that. That way you can develop your own instrument and use something that's similar. Predictive validity, the GRE, the SAT. So these are supposed to be predictive of your academic success. And then construct validity is a little bit more abstract, looking at things like intelligence and other concepts that you can't really observe quite as easily.